Welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I'm your host, Jeannie Hall, and I'm a creative inspiration coach who helps writers reignite their creative sparks. This podcast is here to help you knock down any barriers that stand between you and your dreams. You can do it. Join me. Hello, and welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. This is your host, Jeannie Hall, and this is podcast 26, Ahead of Time. And before we get started today, ahead of the regular show, I just want to thank everyone who has been listening to this podcast. It is such just an awe-inspiring joy to create this for you. And the very act of creating this and sharing my words and my journey with you, it's just this huge privilege. So thank you so much. And it's also helped me in a lot of ways because getting my thoughts together for these episodes has been such a beautiful exercise in clarity for me. So, and I'm just so grateful for this opportunity that I have with this, for the technology that now exists and is available now that makes this possible even. So I want to thank you. I want to thank the universe and God. And I want to thank each and every one of you who's listening because I think this world is a better, brighter, and happier place because you're in it. If you've been drawn to this podcast and you've been kind enough to listen to me go on for now 26 episodes, I just wanted to thank you for that. So on with the show. Recently, I was introduced to this wonderful concept of giving value or creating value ahead of time. And I did this already on a podcast. It was podcast 11, which I will link to the show notes. And it was called Creating Value. But what I mean by creating value ahead of time is providing genuine advice and tips and help for free to anyone who's listening or who follows my blog. So instead of holding back information and tidbits of wisdom I've learned, what I do is I share it here and on my blog so it's readily available. And I started out doing this and I continue to do this because it's really fun. But also I know it's one of those things about giving of yourself, and it's just a really big blessing to do that. But why would a new entrepreneur like myself give away valuable information for free? And it's true, I am a new entrepreneur. I am trying to leave my day job. I am trying to get a business off the ground and running and started so I can do that full time instead of what I am doing now. But why am I doing this for free? Well, one, because it helps you get to know me better and what I have to offer. Because the truth of the matter is most people don't have any idea who Jeannie Hall is. And I realize that. So any way that I can get out there and let people know, the only way you can find your tribe, as they say, and the people who are your people is by getting out there and being visible, or in this case, audible to your eyes and ears and let people discover who you are. And this is such a unique medium that allows me to get out there and really share who I really am and my thoughts on things and how I've been able to improve my life so much and begin achieving my dreams. And so that's my first reason. Number two, it's because this information that I have for you is too important not to share. It'd be like discovering the fountain of youth and then just keeping it to yourself, or the cure for cancer, or some other huge thing. To me, it's really, really, really important. And so I wish I had those other things too. I really do. I would love to cure cancer. I would love that any harm or bad things would go away. I wish I could give that to everyone. But I don't have that answer, and so I don't have that information. But I do have this information, and it can help. And I feel like perspective and mindset is so important to how we deal with everything in our lives. And if I can help anyone get through a tough time, no matter how big and how tough that time might be, I want to do that. So that is number 2. And then number 3, it inspires me when I do this. It fills me with joy. It really, really does, to be able to get on here and share with you guys. And so it is a privilege. It really is for me to get to do this. So, and this medium didn't even exist outside of, not podcasting. I mean, we've had radio forever, but this, where just anyone could get on and create a channel and create a podcast, and people can subscribe and hear different people talk about every subject under the sun. I do believe that we have this universal human wisdom, because I believe we're all connected to the divine, and we have this great font of knowledge and wisdom there that we all have access to, but a lot of us don't realize that. And so by being able to share that with you guys, it opens up the world and makes it hopefully a better place. Even if it's just a small voice, I still feel like I want to share. So I am. And I also know that you have all heard this old adage that to give is to receive. But here's the funny thing about that. It is. It really is. If you give, you are automatically receiving at the same time if you do it right. In other words, if you do it with a giving heart and with genuine generosity. Because some people will give, and maybe their intentions are good, but maybe they're also looking to get something out of it specifically. And if you go at it like that, it's more likely to backfire, I think. So like if you give money because you want people to see you give money, you want people to acknowledge that you're giving money, and oh, look at me, I'm giving all this money, I'm such a great person, I'm such a philanthropist, look at me. If that's the motivation behind it, and not to say we don't all have that a little bit, because that's part of being a human, is we want to be appreciated and acknowledged for who we are, and if we want that pat on the back sometimes. And so if that's what's happening, then it's understandable, but it's not so much of a pure motivation. So I think you're going to get a lot more out of it if you just genuinely, purely want to help, and you just really do want to give of yourself. Because if that's how you're coming at it, then it's totally a receiving thing too. In fact, what you receive will be multiplied because you're genuinely giving of yourself. And are there going to be haters out there? Sure. But those are just people that are the same as us, right? I think we're all the same at our very core. We're all spiritual beings in human form. But there are some of us here, and the haters could probably be under that heading. They just don't know, right? They don't know who they are. They don't understand. And so helping people to understand who they really are and what they're really capable of, I mean, that is such a gift in and of itself. And just that realization has changed my personal life so much. My own life has changed, and how I view myself in the world as a whole has changed so dramatically for the better. When you can come at it from a more an optimistic, if you see things as miracles, it's much easier to get through this life and feel good about it and not be in a hurry to get through it, and actually want to stay in the moment and enjoy it, because that's what we're here to do, I think. And it's much easier to do if you can look at it in a positive frame of mind. So I think a lot of us hear that to give is to receive, and they just brush it off. It's actual wisdom, but we've heard it so much and in so many different situations that we do tend to brush it off. And some of us will think, oh, that's just trite, that's just false, whatever. What are you trying to get? People will actually mistrust it sometimes and say, what are you trying to get from me for even saying something like that? Or they look at something that might be an actual positive thing and they question it, because sometimes this world heaps a bunch of stuff on us that's really painful and hard to get through, and it turns us sometimes into more cynical and jaded people. We begin to not trust things, and it's understandable. It's an understandable reaction. But I think to give is to receive is the truth. And it's because I believe that it has proven to be true over and over and over, because what you believe becomes your truth. That's how powerful you are. And people who don't believe that are creating their truth whether they realize it or not. So you can create whatever truth you want. If you want to believe the jaded, cynical world and that view of things, and that it's all death and destruction and horror and all that kind of stuff, you can. It's your choice. No one can take that from you. You were given free will, and so you get to choose for yourself how you see the world and how you interact with it. And if you want to see the negative side of things all the time, that's what you'll see. But you have the choice, and this is so important for you to realize. It is a choice, and you can change it if you want. So this is the trick. Like I said before, you have to give with a grateful heart. And another trick is that you can't actually believe it's a trick. Because it's not. The truth of the matter is very simple. To give of yourself sincerely and no expectation of getting anything out of it means that then you're opening your heart and your soul and your spirit to all the good that's waiting for you. And it is waiting for you. It's waiting for all of us. It's trying to get to us all the time. We block it ourselves. So be open to those miracles and be open to giving freely with no expectation of return, no expectation of acknowledgement. If you start doing that, then everything's going to change for you, and it's going to be amazing. So if you're suffering from some kind of lack in your life right now, whether it be money or love or joy or anything else that you want but don't have, find something that you love and give it away. So what I'm giving away is the truth of what I've learned, and I've been sharing this in my blog and podcast over these months now. And what I'm giving away personally, I give away tips for writers and authors on how to overcome writer's block. I give away this audio content to y'all for the sheer fun of it, because I have that good a time doing this. It's so fun getting up here and recording for you guys to just listen to and take in. And if you get anything out of it, that's just awesome. And I hope you do. But I really do enjoy it just for the act of the creation of it, I think. I really do just love doing this in and of itself. And I think that's key to whatever you're doing in your life. If you're painting rocks, right? It may not do anything for anybody else. You may not sell a rock. It may not make anybody a difference in anyone else's life but your own. But if you enjoy it and you love it and you like it, then that's all that matters. If it brings you joy, then that's perfect in and of itself. And I have an author friend who paints rocks, and she is awesome. I am not an artist myself at all, so whenever I see other people, I've grown up with friends who are, and know lots of people who are artists and are brilliant at it. They're incredible. And she, my author friend, is one of those people. And she will paint rocks and just leave them around places for people to find. And it's so funny because she lives in Canada. And so yesterday on my walk, I walked through an urban area in Virginia and I found a painted rock. that someone else had left, and I just thought of her. I thought, oh, I know this can't be her because she's in Canada, but somebody else is doing this too, and just leaving them for people to find a little bit of beauty in the middle of a city, in the middle of a world that's usually not necessarily full of nature. And they brought a rock and painted it and made it beautiful and left it for someone to find. I just thought that was so incredible. And do you think that she receives a lot of joy? Obviously she does, just from doing it, but I can guarantee you that seeing other people find her rocks and enjoy them, or take them home, or give them to their kids, or any of those things also brings her joy. It's just a side benefit though, because she already had the joy of the creation to begin with. So any other side benefits, that's just icing on the cake. So to me, that's what this podcast is. I love just recording it and sharing what I've learned and sharing my journey with you guys. And I hope it helps you. But really, if it does help you, to me, that's icing on the cake. It really is, because just the creation of it is important to me and powerful to me and a joy for me. So find whatever that is for you. Find a joy that you have, and don't look to get anything out of it. Just look for sharing it or not sharing it, whatever works for you. But look for something that you love to do and do it just for your own sake, just for the enjoyment of doing that in the moment. And it could be a skill you've acquired. It could be a product you created. It could be anything. It could be painting rocks, like I just mentioned. It could be volunteering your time or your resources if you have them. That is awesome. But the feeling you get from doing that, whether it's sharing is what gives you the great feeling, like in a volunteer situation, or if it's just the act of creation, like I've been talking about with the podcast or the rock painting or whatever it is that you're doing, do it for yourself, because you deserve that feeling. And it's an awesome feeling. I think everybody should have it. That feeling of giving freely of yourself ahead of time, no strings attached, in and of itself is so uplifting. And since part of the law of attraction is about raising your vibration overall, giving ahead of time is a great way to start doing that. So if your goal is to raise your vibration, if you're a law of attraction believer and you want to change your life for the better and you want to raise your vibration overall, that's a great way to do it. Find what brings you joy and keep doing it and find other things that do it as well. That's a great place to begin. And something else I've started doing recently is donating more money. Since I've been struggling financially for most of my life, which is my own personal past, it's very important to me to give money to causes I feel strongly about. And giving that money when I'm financially strapped is really powerful because it shows the universe that I'm now open to more abundance. I'm showing the universe and God that I have faith and that I trust that it has my back, or God has my back. I know that financial resources are coming, that it's all going to be covered, that I'm completely supported, and everything I need, all the resources that I might need in the future or now, they're coming. They're already on their way. It's already done. That's the way the law of attraction works. So I give knowing that I've got it to give. And it changes my vibration from one of lack and scarcity and fear to one of plenty. When you feel like you've got plenty, think of how that feels in your body. When you're feeling like you lack something or something is scarce and you're fearful, how does that feel in your body? What does it do? In me, it makes like the deepest part of my stomach like tighten up and hurt, sometimes ache. And it makes me feel on edge, like nervous, like I want to jump out of my skin. I feel tingly, but not in a good way, in a bad way. Me personally, that's one of my reactions to that feeling. But when I put plenty in there instead, and I think of that feeling in my body, the feeling of plenty, of having not just enough, but more than enough, that changes everything. Because it's kind of like if you have plenty of rest, you have everything you need. You don't need to rest. You're not cranky. You're not tired. You have plenty. And plenty of money is the same way, or plenty of resources, plenty of time. All the things we all complain about a lot of not having enough of. I don't have enough money for that. I don't have enough time for that. I don't have the energy for that. I'm not inspired. I don't have the inspiration to write. I don't have. We say that kind of stuff all the time, or we think it. We complain about it. But if we can change that to saying, I have plenty of time. I have plenty of money or resources. I have plenty of things to give. I have plenty of wisdom, plenty of knowledge, plenty of everything I need. It changes everything. It changes how you feel and how you conduct yourself in this world, and that's so powerful and so wonderful. And all those self-made folks out there, the ones that started with nothing or very, very little, but they achieved success, those folks, they're not only financially successful, the really big ones I'm talking about, because you can go out there and get the money and the rest of your life is crap. It's totally possible to go out there, be cutthroat, be a shark, and get bunches and bunches of money. But at the end of the day, if you do that, sure, you might have money, and sure, you might have nice material belongings, and you might have a nice home and a fancy car and vacations and all sorts of stuff. But that will not bring you happiness, because what you're missing is the rest of life. What you're missing is the relationships with someone to enjoy all that with, and the friendships to enjoy that with, the connections to other people. It doesn't have to be a lot of other people, but do you really want to do all that alone? Right? So that's what we're talking about. The connections to others, the love that you feel when you're with people you enjoy, sharing things with other people who may not have experienced it before, or maybe you haven't experienced it before, but you want to share that. It's like seeing something astoundingly beautiful and not being able to turn to someone and say, look at that. How cool is that? Right? It's much better when you're with someone, especially with someone you care about and love, and being able to share. It's, oh my God, look at that. It's so much better when you can share it. So it's all about changing your mindset and your feelings from fear into love, so that you can have that whole world, not just one part, not just money, not just love with no money, not just a career but no personal life, or a personal life and no career, if you want both. You can have it all. You really can. And this is what one of my first mentors that I had in my journey, Kelly Cooper, calls putting your money where your mouth is. And what she means by that is you give before you receive, and you do it with absolute trust and faith, because you're showing God, the universe, that you believe it. You believe them. You believe that they're supporting you. And I realize this isn't always easy, because it's hard to believe things we can't visibly see with our eyes. It's having faith in something that's beyond that is beyond our comprehension sometimes. And that takes a lot of faith and a lot of trust and, frankly, a lot of practice. For most of us, we can't just do this automatically. But one thing I did to start doing this, and it wasn't easy for me either, but it's definitely made a very positive change in my life, is my job increased the hours I was required to work, but kept my pay the same. Yeah. So I made the decision to not work the extra hours at one point. I decided I'd rather lose a little pay than spend my time toiling unhappily away at a job that I'm really looking forward to leaving. And when I made the decision to do that, I was making the decision to stand up for myself and not let a company I worked for abuse me. I received so many more ideas at that point. After I made that decision, I got inspiration left, right, and center on creating my own business, how to create it, what to do, who to listen to, what books to get, who to go to for advice, how to change this aspect of my life and that aspect. And it was amazing. I found classes, I found podcasts, I found new mentors, I found new books, I found people to recommend books. I found so much to help me along my path to becoming an entrepreneur. And even though that scares me to risk that and to change, to do that, it's well worth it because it's just fear. And I can love my way past fear because I trust in God. I trust in the universe to take care of me. And I trust that the universe will provide for me. And by trusting, I get to have that good outcome because I know it's coming. And I believe in it ahead of time. I believe in it before it comes. And it brings it to me so much faster. Because you can do it the long way around, or you can do it a little faster by really enforcing your belief with your actions. So my decision to not do those hours when I did, and believing that I had faith and that I was supported by the universe, that everything was going to be okay, that really changed my vibration and raised it and made it to where those outcomes were coming to me even faster. And all the inspiration that I had been lacking up till then came to me in like a torrent. It was amazing. And another great strategy you can utilize ahead of time is to do an exercise from my coach and mentor, Betsy Paik, who I've talked about numerous times. She has an exercise she calls talking to your future self. So what you do in this exercise is you imagine that there's this future version of yourself that has already accomplished everything that you're striving to do. She's already achieved all your goals. She already has all the desires that you have right now. All those desires have come true. They've been met. And let's say it's like 5 years from now, for example. It can be whatever you want. Just some point in the future that's believable for you that you know it could happen. So take a moment, get into a quiet contemplative state, and visualize having a conversation with this future version of yourself that's already done it all. They've already done it. And picture talking to this beautiful, confident success who is actually you just a few years in the future. Imagine what you would ask yourself and imagine what answers you might receive. What would you tell yourself? How would you conduct yourself? What would you change in your life right now to make the you of the future, that success, that beautiful, confident success that you're talking to? How can you right now change into her or him? When you ask things like that and you imagine and you visualize that in your head, answers will come. They will start pouring into your head. You will start having so much inspiration. And at first it may just be a little change. Well, instead of doing that, I'm going to do this. I've been meaning to do this and I'm going to start doing that now. It may start with little things, or it might come all at once and you'll be like, oh God, I got to do this and this and this. However it comes to you, just be willing to accept it and to do it, and you can become that future self. So by imagining yourself successful and happy and fulfilled ahead of time, you're doing something that Abraham Hicks, which of course is a huge name in the law of attraction, Abraham calls this filling in your grid. And what that is you're preparing your mind for the future you want. So you're raising your vibration to get what it needs to be to bring the good things you want into your life. Because what your vibration needs is to raise up higher, to be on a higher frequency. And it's so great because our mind is what holds us back. Our mind is there to protect us and to tell us to be scared and beware and look out, all the time. And to override that, you can is by changing your feelings. And let me tell you, folks, this works. It has totally worked for me and is continuing to work for me. I've watched it happen and I've seen the results. So let me share with you a few things that I've done this with. One example is I pictured in 2014, I began vividly picturing myself holding my own published novel with my name and title on it in my actual physical hand. I pictured it over and over and over, and I pictured it with wonderful, happy feelings flowing through me whenever I did it. And in March 2016, it actually happened. I have a picture. It'll be on my blog in the show notes. Check it out. It's real. Talk about manifesting. Hell yeah. It was awesome because that is something I had been dreaming of for years. And when I actually made it happen, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, I just broke out into tears. I was a babbling mess, sobbing. And it was all pure joy because seeing a dream come true is so, so powerful. And my wish is for each and every one of you listening to this right now, whenever you listen to this, if you're listening to it the day it gets released or you're listening to it years and years after it's been released, it's all good. Because I want you to know the power and the amazing feeling of having a dream come true. Everyone deserves that. It's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful and everything good. Another thing that I did is I imagined myself getting skinnier and healthier. And by May of 2017, I had lost 43 pounds, as many of you know as well. Lowered my blood sugar so much that my doctor reduced my medication. So that's another thing that I pictured. And that one happened actually pretty fast. So once you get into the habit of doing this, my point about it being faster, like the first thing that happened took a little while because I didn't really know to focus my thoughts and feelings like that and to visualize. I didn't know about that for 10 years when I was writing that first novel. I didn't know that until like the end, after I'd been writing for so long. But whenever I found that out and I began visualizing it, and then it happened within a couple years, this one happened like in a year. Now, I can't tell you how long it's going to take for you. I can't give you any kind of concrete. I'm not, obviously, I don't have that kind of power. You have your own power. We all have our own power, but being able to tell, the future is not one of my powers. But what I can tell you is that the more you get in the habit of doing this, the more likely it is that it'll speed things up for you. Because it's more of a habit. Right, you're laying that neural pathway in your own brain, and you're rewiring your own brain when you do this. So do it over and over and over again, and the faster you do, the more you do it on a daily basis, on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, the more likely it is that your brain's going to be used to that and rewiring itself so it'll make it happen faster. So in the summer of 2017, just a few months ago now, it's now December as I record this in 2017. I received inspiration to start my own coaching business, incorporating my love of writing, using my own writing experience as a guide, by helping people. So I want to help people, and by using my newfound spirituality to get all of that going. And I now have the Writing in Your Jammies coaching business, and it's starting out. Obviously, I haven't left my day job or anything yet, but I know that I will. I know that time is coming. I know this is going to be a success because everything in me has told me and has shown me by already doing this before that everything we want really is at our fingertips, as long as we're willing to have faith in it and believe in ourselves and believe in the universe and God, that we co-create and make it happen. And that's all because I imagined doing all those things ahead of time, and I made them the truth. And you can too. So what would you like to imagine ahead of time for yourself? Let's discuss it in the comments. So guys, have a great day, week, month, and year. It's getting ready to be a new one shortly. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I appreciate every download and every person who has subscribed. I release new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday, so if you enjoy this content, please consider leaving a review. The more reviews fledgling shows like mine receive, the more visible it becomes on the various podcast stations. Each review helps, so if you enjoy what I've been sharing, please help others find this show by leaving a brief review. Thanks again for listening.